Okay, so kind of like with the Phineas and Ferb Q&A, I didn't get a lot of questions for the Steven Universe Q&A. Probably because I put the video up a little too late at night. It was about what, like 1 in the morning when I posted that, or maybe even earlier or later than that. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. So anyway, I only got 14 questions. So rather than do a last call and all that, I just decided, you know what, not a lot of questions, so I'll just go ahead and wing it myself. So here we go. Starting off with Sci-Fi Freak 398, and he asks, how does Lars compare to Robbie in terms of jerkiness to you? Well, actually, believe it or not, now most of you guys know Robbie is one of my most hated characters, not just in Gravity Falls, but hated characters ever. Like, ever. Like, I hate this guy so damn much in that show. Anyway, so Sci-Fi wants to know what I think of Lars compared to Robbie. Now, Lars I actually like more than Robbie, because Robbie is a straight-up douche canoe. Lars has some redeeming qualities. There's actually, like, he gets along with Steven. He can be, have a meaningful conversation with Steven. Yeah, he makes fun of him, but it's more like, he's more like Squidward from, of course, SpongeBob. So, he's actually more, he's more of a total loser than trying to be the cool kid. It's fun to see him interact with Steven, and sometimes he even appreciates Steven. That's a very good quality in my opinion. I especially like that episode, Lars and the Cool Kids, where I was like, oh man, here we go, this is the point where I think he's gonna be the Robbie knockoff. He's not! I actually like Lars. I think he's a very good character. There isn't a character on Steven Universe that I have yet to hate, so yeah, I mean, yeah, I can't defend that Lars is can be a total dick sometimes. On the other hand, he's a lot more likable in terms of a character because he is the loser. He is he's trying so hard to fit in with everybody, and I love that moment where he finally acknowledges, Steven's pretty alright. He likes hanging out with Steven for the most part. Keyword for the most part. So, in that regard, yeah, actually, he's a douche, but not on the total level of cockface as Robbie. So there you go. Anyway, King Nazaru asks, how do you think the Crystal Gems gang would interact with the Z Fighters post-Battle of the Gods? I have not watched Battle of the Gods. I haven't gotten around to watching it yet. Sorry. But Dragon Ball Z in general, I think they'd really get along. I think the Crystal Gems and DBZ would get along. I think it would actually be kind of funny that, Goku would watch them merge, do the fuse. I mean, come on, guys. You guys weren't like me when you watched Pearl and Amethyst become Opal, and you see their little dance they did, and it so reminded you of the fusion dance. You know it, I know it. That thing looked like the goddamn fusion dance. Well, I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure there's like there's like Steven Universe fan art somewhere out there that is like Pearl and Amethyst doing like a fan art comic of them doing the fusion dance, and then Opal shows up. Pretty sure that's out there somewhere. Sorry, I've got like a water bottle to keep, my mouth from going dry. Anyway, so I think it'd be cool. I think the interactions I'd like to see is like Krillin hang out with Amethyst and Piccolo hang out with Garnet, and Pearl. I think Pearl would be very interesting to see her interact with I don't know with Pearl, because everyone's just more... You see, the thing with Dragon Ball Z is that the only one who thinks up plans, for the most part, is Piccolo. But he's the common reserve guy, so I could see him hanging out with Garnet a lot. Maybe hang out with... well, Vegeta would scare her. So, poor Pearl. I think she would just like to hang out with, like, Bulma and Chi-Chi. I think that would be pretty fun. There you go. And young Gohan and Steven. There you go. Or better yet, Steven hang out with Goten and Trunks. That would be a lot of fun. Anyway, thank you for that question, Nazru. Third question comes from Jason Voorhees, 2011. See, your question got in. And I'm pretty sure I think, yeah, for the most part, everyone's question is on here. But real quick, though, if I miss someone's question, that means YouTube was being a total cock and either blocked it as spam or it just doesn't show up on my YouTube for some reason. So, again, YouTube being a cock, so I do apologize. But Jason Voorhees asks, Which of the crystal gems would you want as your guardian slash friend? All the crystal gems are a lot of fun. They're all great characters. Me personally, though, I'd go with Pearl. Pearl's probably my favorite of the crystal gems, because it's kind of hilarious to see her overthink things, and it's kind of hilarious, because there's one scene in the episode Lars and the Cool Kids where she thinks of this great, ingenious plan to keep humans from getting near this living algae that was Rose's pet. And she puts a do not cross sign right there. And I find that hilarious. And also, it's just hilarious to listen to her talk, because it's almost like she's like, it's almost kind of hilarious because it's almost like something you would see, because she thinks she knows the human race, but she's so alienated from it. So I find that pretty funny. So Pearl would be a lot of fun. I think it'd just be nice to hang out with her. So yeah, Pearl. Anyway, think of that question, Jason. Next question comes from Burnouter7. He asks, what would happen if the Steven and the Crystal Gems met the Avengers, Captain Marvel, the Transformers, and He-Man? You guys really burn me out on these crossover questions, you know that? I'm not saying that's bad or anything. I'm just saying I know I'm the crossover guy, and I accept that title, and I embrace it, and I love it and cherish it, and hug it and squeeze it and name it George. But there are some times where I'd like to get questions that are pertaining close to the show. I don't mind crossover questions, guys. It's just, you know, I would really like to have, you know, some questions that pertain to the certain thing. You know what I mean? Anyway, getting back to this question. Burnouter asks that question. Okay, I'm just going to lump he said the Hulk as well, but I'm just going to lump the Hulk in the Avengers. So the Crystal Gems meeting the Avengers would be pretty cool. I think it would be like Steven meeting all these heroes and just trying to get the Avengers to team up with the Crystal Gems and show that he's such a great hero. Captain Marvel would be a lot of fun as well. Billy Batson hanging out with Steven Universe and then going Shazam! Boom! And Steven would be in total awe and wonder. The Transformers would also be cool. Seeing, you know, the Crystal Gems hang out with the Autobots, that'd be a lot of fun. And Steven riding around in Bumblebee or something. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe would also be pretty cool. I'm just kind of blowing through this because I've got a few other questions to go through, and I don't really you see, if I thought about this more, I'd have a better answer for this. So I'm just blowing right through of what kind of little key points I'd like to see in it. Not trying to be a dick, it's just I really just didn't think about these questions all the way through, and I've got to go through these to everyone else. Anyway, He-Man would be pretty cool. I think it'd be hilarious to see him try to use Steven try to use the Sword of Grayskull and use I have the power, and nothing happens. Like, stupid sword, and just throw it. So think of that question, Burnouter. Aaron Izzard asks, as I know almost nothing about this show, I'm going in blind on this. Here goes. How would you do a crossover with say Doctor Who or another science fiction cartoon? Doctor Who would be interesting. I actually think it would be cool to see the Crystal Gems hang out with like Star Trek or something. I think it would be pretty interesting. Mostly because I'd like to see how Captain Kirk would try to seduce some of the Crystal Gems, like him trying to get in Garnet's pants would be hilarious. Or Pearl's. I don't know about Amethyst. I think he'd look at Amethyst and be like, she's too purple for my taste. But Pearl probably smells like a rose. On Garnet, on the other hand, she has 3 eyes. That is kind of freaky. I dig it. Mr. Spock. Warp factor to her underwear. Warp factor 9. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. I mean, that wasn't even a good impression, so I do apologize for that. It just came to me off the fly. Anyway, thank you for that question, Aaron Izzard. Next question comes from Black Squirt Boys, who asks, who would win, Stan Lee or Steven Universe? Stan Lee, because Steven Universe would just bow to Stan Lee's awesomeness. All Stan would have to be there. He'd just stand there and smile at Steven, and Steven would be like, whoa, you're the god of heroes. And, you know, Stan Lee would be like, damn right, son, too bad I didn't create you. Stan Lee away! I'm just doing horrible impressions this entire Q&A, I'm sorry. So anyway, thank you for that question, Black Squirt Boys. Next question comes from Travis Rendon, who asks, Who do you think will win in a fight between the Gems and the Powerpuff Girls? That's a tough one. The Crystal Gems versus the Powerpuff Girls. That is something. That is interesting. I gotta go with the Crystal Gems because they've apparently been around longer. They've been around longer on Earth than the Powerpuff Girls, and they've been apparently in the Revolutionary War. They've been they're very old, and they have thousands of years experience, and they have powers that none of us, we hardly know what these powers are capable of. Like, they have powers we don't even know about. So, yeah, the Powerpuff Girls are going to put up a good fight, but I got to give it to the Gems. That's just me, though. So thank you for that question, Travis. Next question comes from Dylan Malone 14, who asks, if you can make a Crystal Gem, what will they be like? I'm convinced we're going to see more Crystal Gems, maybe down the road in the series. And some of the Crystal Gems I would like to see, well, one I have in mind is like maybe one called Emerald, who is she's kind of like the aggressive one. She'd be like, I'd make her like the Raphael of the turtles. Of the Gems, excuse me. I'd make her like the Raphael. She's the aggressive one. She's the one who kind of jumps in head first. Because you got already the stuff. You've got Garnet, who's pretty much like Leo. Pearl, who's like Donatello. And Amethyst, who is like Michelangelo. And I know I'm not counting Steven, but I'm talking about another Crystal Warrior. Steven's still in training, so he's like the Casey Jones of the group. But yeah, I would definitely add a more aggressive one who's more into, you know, killing something than thinking out a plan, and her kind of clashing with Garnet, because you see how Pearl and Amethyst argue a lot. So it'd be interesting to see someone kind of clash with Garnet, because Garnet's kind of the undisputed leader. So I think it would be an interesting dynamic to have that little rivalry going on of this character Emerald kind of clashing with Garnet's authority. So that would be interesting. So there you go. Thank you for that question, Dylan Malone. Next comes Andre Partridge, who asks, when do you think in the series that Steven will finally learn to control his powers, and if so, how many different ways do you think he'll use his powers? Well, we know he can create a shield. That's his main weapon. So I think it would be like kind of like the Captain America shield, where he just shoots it out of his belly button, it ricochets around, he catches it and uses it, or it just goes right back to his belly button. I don't know. That'd be interesting. Maybe he can even like make the shield bigger, because we obviously know it can make a bubble. So maybe he can like widen the shield around people, or maybe he can form the shield into like a sword or something. That'd be interesting. Like maybe it starts out of his shield, or maybe you can shoot even energy blasts out of the shield. That'd be cool. So that'd be interesting. Anyway, thank you for that question, Andre. Next question comes from Movie Lover 615299. Do you think we will have an episode about Rose Quartz? I think we are. I'm really convinced we are going to get an episode that, if not centered around Rose, but it's more or less going to be learning more about Rose. Not that much a flashback episode, but maybe an episode where it kind of explains more of how Rose and Greg Universe got together, or her, you know, kind of realizing, yeah, I'm going to give birth to a son, and it's going to kill me. So I think that would be an interesting concept to kind of delve into. Or maybe you could even have it maybe like a flashback, but it's maybe how Greg is it's like on their anniversary of their wedding, and although did they ever say they were married? Maybe, yeah, maybe they weren't married when when Rose conceived Steven. Maybe you could just have it like it's maybe like their anniversary or something, and Greg is just thinking back and remembering all the good times he had with her. That'd be interesting. That'd be sweet. And maybe even have it that at the end of the episode, Greg giving the Crystal Gems Steven, baby Steven. That's just my thought, but yeah, I do think we're going to get an episode about Rose in the soon future. Maybe not this season, but maybe next season. Who knows? Maybe it will be this season. Who knows? So thank you for that question, Movie Lover. Next question comes from Zach the Thunder King, and Zach asks, Do you think we will see a male Crystal Gem? I think there's a possibility. There's always a possibility because we've only seen female Crystal Gems, and female Crystal Gems are maybe because all we know is that there are female, but maybe there are a few male Crystal Gems. We don't even know if they were like a species, or maybe they were like the Green Lantern Corps that a Crystal Gem is chosen. We don't really know we don't know much about their history, so maybe there were male Crystal Gems in the future, or maybe there are only a few male ones, kind of like how it's like kind of flip-flopped where in the Transformers where they only had a handful of female Autobots, maybe in that kind of respect, oh, male Crystal Gems, wow. So maybe that, maybe we'll get that. So I wouldn't put it past them. So for that. Anyway, thank you for that question, Zach. Next comes BooRat1, and he asks, not really a question, but a fun little thing I know you'll like to do. Create your own villain for the show, or what type of villain would you like to see for the show? Ooh, goody! It's because this kind of pertains to the previous question. And here's what I think. Here's my thing. Sorry, water break. So, my ideal villain would be a male Crystal Gem, believe it or not. I actually thought of this villain called Obsidian. Obsidian was this Crystal Gem who... I based him around Sinestro. He was a Sinestro-type character that he believed the Crystal Gems were getting too soft in the few eons they've been around. So he's a little more extreme. He's incredibly violent, and he has a very totalitarian view on the world. The world has to, the human race or whatever races they're protecting, they need to, be forced to, they need to be ruled. They need to have someone to tell them what to do constantly, or they're just going to get into fights more. And that he got kicked out by Rose and the other Crystal Gems. And now he's come back to get his revenge. There you go. That's Obsidian. I would make him like a Sinestro-type character for the most part. I think that's the best way you could do a villain for the Crystal Gems, because they haven't really had a villain yet. All they've had is monsters. And, the crazy shit Steven does. So, I think that would be the best route, is to give them a villain that kind of perverts all of their characteristics as well as their morals. So I think that would be, a renegade Crystal Gem would be the best course of action, in my opinion. So, yeah. Thank you for that question, BooRat1. Next question comes from Wolfman the Impaler, and he asks, which comic company would you rather see do Steven Universe? IDW or Boom Studios? Ooh, good question, good question. Because now both Boom Studios and IDW are doing comic books centered around Cartoon Network. With obviously IDW, you have all of their classic stuff. Well, they're even doing classic Ben 10. Yeah, they're doing classic Ben 10 rather than Ben 10 Omniverse. Yeah, I don't think they're doing Ben 10 the Ben 10 Alien Force. They're doing the Ben 10 when he was 10. So and they're also doing like a lot of the 90s and early 2000s cartoons as comics. While you have on the other side with Boom Studios, they just have Adventure Time and Regular Show. And I've heard that they might do... I'm not going to read this because I don't like this show. I heard they might be doing an Uncle Grandpa comic. No thank you. No thank you. Although it's kind of weird because I can do the voice of Uncle Grandpa. Good morning! That was terrible. I know I can do better than that. I'm impersonating I'm impersonating a character of a show I don't even like. Anyway, my bet, getting back to the question at hand, my bet is that this is going to be Boom Studios. If it ever does go into comics, I'm betting you that it's going to be at Boom Studios, because they're doing all the current Cartoon Network stuff, whereas IDW is doing the classic stuff. Will I love it at IDW? Oh, hell yeah. I'm not trying to discredit Boom Studios. They do a really good job with, of course, the Adventure Time and the Regular Show comics. But I would like it at IDW, not so much because it would be like, oh, you just want to see it crossed over with things. That's about a 10-15% the reason why. I just think they do have a good handle on those characters, so... And plus IDW is my favorite comic book company, so... Yeah. Anyway. I would like it at IDW, but I think I would like... and I wouldn't mind it at all, I think it's going to be at Boom Studios. That's my bet, is that it's going to end up, if it does become a comic book, it's going to end up at Boom Studios. So there's your answer, Wolfman. Final question comes from the Spawn117, who asks, what would happen if Steven and the Crystal Gems met Alucard, Ash, the Elric brothers, Hellboy, the 10th Doctor, Guardians of the Galaxy, the Orcs, Ruby, Heisenberg, and Judge Dredd? Christ. Oh, that boy, that's a lot. That is a lot of people. And again, I don't really think these things through, so... I'm not trying to be mean here, I'm just like, wow, that is a lot to process. I'm not trying to be a dick here, it's just... and I'm really sorry if I sounded like that. It's just that's a lot of shit to process. And, yeah. That is a lot of stuff to process, so I'm going to try my best here. What would happen if Steven... Okay. First off, Alucard. Alucard wouldn't even want any shit to do with him. He'd just be like, fuck all of you and leave. Ash would be interesting. I'd like to see him, like, hit on the Crystal Gems, and then them hitting back on him. That would be hilarious. And Steven reading from the Necronomicon would be hilarious as well. The Elric brothers would be interesting as well. I think it would be kind of interesting to see the Elric brothers trying to use the Crystal Gem power and try to, because obviously it's magic, and the Elric brothers' alchemy it's not magic, it's pseudoscience. And and Edward and Elric kind of disprove magic whenever they can. So I think it'd be interesting to see them actually delve into mystical objects, and see that kind of culture shock to them. That would be the most interesting part to it. Oh, I missed Godzilla. Godzilla would just wreck Beach City and leave. There you go. Hellboy would be cool too. I think it would be interesting because I think it would be kind of funny. Maybe you could have that in the past Hellboy and the Crystal Gems did team up to fight some kind of evil demon god in like Vietnam or something. I don't fucking know. Maybe it would just be a past story when the Crystal Gems were around, and maybe when Hellboy meets up with them, he's like, "Oh, hey Garnet, and hey guys, been a while." The Doctor. That'd be a lot of fun, seeing the Doctor just travel with all of them. I think, again, it would be interesting to, maybe you could have it, like, the Doctor's already met them, but in a past incarnation. Doctor comes back and is like, oh, it's the Doctor, she changed again, woo. Guardians of the Galaxy. The Guardians of the Galaxy, I think out of all of them, this would be the one I'd really like to see. The Crystal Gems team up with the Guardians of the Galaxy. That would be a very cool crossover. And, it'd be hilarious to see Steven kind of be like, oh, a raccoon, I'm gonna pet you! And Rocket Raccoon is like, gonna shoot him, gonna shoot him, gonna shoot him! And also a fight between Garnet and Gamora would be totally badass. I'm just saying, Garnet versus Gamora. There you go. The Orcs from Warhammer. I don't really play a lot of Warhammer. I'm really sorry. I mean, I know of it, and I know some of the universe stuff. I'm just, it's kind of too big it's kind of really big and a lot to take in. But the Orcs, I can see a whole Orc invasion in Beach City and the Gems trying to contain it all. That's the best way I could look at it. Ruby from the anime thing, Ruby. I have not watched Ruby yet. I'm sorry, guys. I know, I'm sorry, guys. I just haven't gotten around to watching Ruby. Really sorry. It's not because, oh, it's not really an anime, it's computer, no, it's not that. Ruby, it's because I just, it's on my to-do list. It's like in Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I've got it on a list. Don't worry, guys. It's on the list. I'll get around to it. Anyway, Heisenberg. They would just all bow in the glory of Bryan Cranston. They'd be running drugs for him just because it's Bryan Cranston. There you go. And Judge Dredd. Dredd would just probably pick a fight with them because he'd look at them and be like, costume vigilantes, 30 years in a cell. Something like that. I know I kind of shortened it up for the most part, but yeah, again, if I really wanted to and sat down and thought about it, maybe I would have come up with better stuff, and I'm sorry for that. Anyway, guys, so yeah, that's the Q&A. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and yeah, I know this was a real short one, but didn't get a lot of questions. Hopefully, I'll get a better turnout for the next one, and I'll probably more than likely do Steven Universe too, because I think the problem was with doing Steven Universe because it hasn't even gotten out of its first season yet. I know it's gotten a fan base already, but I think another main problem I have is because not a lot of people have watched Steven Universe yet. So Steven Universe is still new. It's got a lot behind it. So I think that was the main point of it all. So, but yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for these questions. I know this was a short Q&A, but again, didn't get a lot of questions, and I know I didn't have a guest star in here, but I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna wing it. So, yeah. Anyway, once again, guys, hope you all enjoyed this, and I'm out.